G'day viewers, Retro Man here. Have you heard the news? Axel Foley is back. That's right, Beverly Hills Cop 4 is a reality. And I have all the news, guys, so stay tuned for more.
Coming to you from a basement studio somewhere down under, it's the 80s Show with Australia's Retro Man. On tonight's show, Retro Man gives you the lowdown on the upcoming Netflix movie, Beverly Hills Cop 4. Well, what are we waiting for? Lights, camera, Retro Man!
G'day viewers, Retro Man here and welcome to the 80s Show. What can I say, guys? The heat is back on. That's right, Beverly Hills Cop 4 is in production. Yes, it's all happening, guys. Eddie Murphy is back as Axel Foley. In fact, it seems that this production is taking a leaf out of Top Gun 2's book, and it may not even be called Beverly Hills Cop 4. It might be called Beverly Hills Cop Axel Foley, it seems. Just like that Top Gun sequel that arrived when it was titled Top Gun Maverick. That's right, the character is front and center. And man, this has been a long wait. I'm sure there are many of you out there that have been really anticipating this sequel. It's been going through a lot of fits and starts over the years. In more recent times, back in 2019, it was announced that Netflix will be handling this one. And that's right, guys, Netflix are on board. It's now 2022, and this film's expected to roll onto Netflix so we can stream it and watch it and have the time of our lives in 2023. Now, it's in production now in San Bernardino and Los Angeles, California. And have you seen the on-set photos? I mean, there's some photos filtering around, and Eddie certainly looks back as Axel Foley. I mean, there's one picture there where he's got his arm in a sling. That looks interesting. Seems like he's got himself into a bit of trouble. That's right, Eddie's back in Beverly Hills, and from what I've heard, he's actually checking up on his daughter, Jane. She's got herself into a little bit of trouble in Beverly Hills, so Axel has gone back there, and his old buddies, by the looks of it, that work at the Beverly Hills Police Department are along for the ride. That's right, guys, there's some fan service happening with this new film, and we have Billy Rosewood and John Taggart back as those Beverly Hills police detectives, and Axel will be hooking up with them and trying to get his daughter out of all sorts of trouble. So it'll be nice to see Judge Reinhold back as Billy Rosewood, and of course John Ashton back as John Taggart. I mean, don't we just like the chemistry between those guys? Eddie Murphy and Reinhold and Ashton. I mean, those guys were big in the 80s as well. I mean, Eddie Murphy, of course. Beverly Hills Cop was this massive juggernaut success. And then, of course, we got the sequel, Beverly Hills Cop 2, and that was epic as well. It continued those same types of flavours. And in the meantime, Eddie Murphy did movies like The Golden Child and Coming to America. And those other guys, his buddies, Judge Reinhold still had a bit of a career. I mean, he was in that body swap film called Vice Versa. That was a fun little flick. And John Ashton, of course, I mean, who can forget what he did in Midnight Run as that bounty hunter that was having conflict with Robert De Niro. So he's this great, gruff, burly guy to get back into this series. So that's right, guys. Not only do we have Axel Foley, but we've got Rosewood and Taggart, and I think that is fan service right there. It's exactly what we want for this fourth film in the series.
Police! You're all under arrest! You do that again, I'll shoot you myself.
Now, Beverly Hills Cop 1, of course, was this mega hit, and Part 2 replicated that success. Some people say to a lesser effect, but it's a sequel that really holds up. And some people think that the third film, which came out in the 90s, wasn't that hot. But it got off to a good start, if you remember. Axel went into that chop shop and busted it up, and sadly Inspector Todd, one of our favourite Beverly Hills cop characters bit the dust in number 3, so he won't be returning in number 4. But number 3 got off to a good start, and then it sort of got into that amusement part thing and tapered out, and some people thought, do we really need another one? But I think the enthusiasm for Beverly Hills Cop 4 is moving forward. There is momentum, guys, and it's 2022. I mean, that last film was back in the 90s. I think this really needs a restart, and we really need to see where Axel is today. So I'm so looking forward to this. And what do you guys think you want to see from this film? I mean, of course, we want to see Eddie with that jacket on and that swagger, and we want to see him interact with Rosewood and Taggart again. Geez, those flavours were great. We want to get that marinating and cooking, and they play off each other so well. So we expect lots of action, we expect some comedy, and of course, the key ingredient to a Beverly Hills Cop film is a great soundtrack. And we want to see that Axel Foley theme back on our screens. We want that front and centre. And maybe we can throw in a little bit of The Heat Is On. I mean, that would be fan service. Maybe even the Neutron Dance. I mean, come on, guys. I think really what the fans want to hear is those classic songs again from the 80s. They're really the theme tunes of Beverly Hills Cop. They put you in the mood and they get you ready for the onslaught, the wisecracks, the action, the comedy, and hopefully this fourth film will deliver. As I said, it's been through some fits and starts, and Eddie Murphy really has had a comeback in recent years. I know the pandemic sort of set the production back on this film, but hey, Eddie just worked a little bit before that pandemic. I mean, it was a comeback, definitely. I mean, just think of what he did. I mean, he did that film for Netflix, Dolomite. I mean, that was a great little biopic. He was red hot in that. He proved he was on form. And then, of course, he did the sequel to Coming to America, which was for Amazon Prime. And some people liked it, some people didn't. It was okay. And this film, I think, is going to be something else. I think it's going to be something special. And just getting those other two guys back, Judge Reinhold and John Ashton, is really going to set this thing alight. So we've got three of our favourite Beverly Hills Cop characters in this fourth film. And guys, what I'd like you to tell me in the box below is, what do you want to see? What do you expect to get out of Beverly Hills Cop 4? Are you ready for this new film? In the meantime, guys, like, comment, and subscribe, and keep watching the 80s show, because I will be back with more very soon. Hey, it's been an absolute pleasure. This is Retro Man, living the dream, 80s style. Stay gold.
Thanks for watching. Retro Man will return faster than a boomerang and with more surprises than Axel Foley. Please subscribe, and good night, viewers.